Hello and welcome to another episode of Chad's Beer Reviews. Continuing with the BJCP style guidelines, we're on 2C International Dark Lager, and for that style we're going to look at Session Black Lager by Full Sail. I think they're out in Oregon. Yep, Hood River, Oregon. Even though they call it a black lager, it is a 2C International Dark Lager, not a Schwartz beer. In fact, let's talk about the differences right now. So overall impression, a darker and somewhat sweeter version of an International Pale Lager with a little more body and flavor, but equally restrained in bitterness. The low bitterness leaves the malt as a primary flavor element, and low hop levels provide very little in the way of balance. So basically, a dark lager is basically like any other generic pale lager, just that it's dark, and that you can use adjuncts in here, which we'll get to in a second. Let's talk about the vitals first. I should have been doing these first things at the beginning of the video, not at the end. All right, so comments: a broad range of international lagers that are darker than pale and not assertively bitter and are roasted, which would be like a Schwartz beer or any kind of porter or stout, something like that. But history: darker versions of, yeah, we already saw that. Created by the same industrial brewers and meant to appeal to a broad audience, often either a colored or sweetened adaptation of the standard pale industrial lager, or more broadly accessible and inexpensive version of more traditional dark lagers. And you can see in characteristic ingredients, they even say, corn, rice, sugars. Light use of caramel and darker malts. Commercial versions may use coloring agents, which means that even if it's super dark beer, it might just be from, food coloring or, whatever syrup they use in there, something like that. Style comparisons: less flavor and richness than Munich Dunkel, Schwartz beer, and other dark lagers. Frequently uses adjuncts, as is typical of other international lagers. IBUs pretty low, 8 to 20, SRM 14 to 22, and 4.2 to 6% ABV. It's interesting that if you look on the list here, they mentioned Shinerbach as one of the commercial examples. So Shinerbach is not actually a Bach; it's just an international dark lager. All right, so without further ado, let's get into this. So let's give it a whiff here. Well, it definitely smells like a pretty generic lager. Like if you look at this, you think, you see dark, so you think like something roasty or something malty like that. But I can smell like the dark malt in there. Like it's just like if you just smelled like black patent malt or something like that, which is probably what this is. It's just black patent malt doesn't really have much of a flavor or aroma thing. It's just mostly just used for color, and that's what's in here. Maybe like a little bit of chocolate, but I would not call this a sweet smelling beer. If you smell this, it just smells like any other generic lager. Not very exciting. No hops. Maybe a little bit of corn in there, but I don't know. Might just be a placebo effect. All right, let's see what the specs say. Aroma: little to no malt aroma. All right, I was right on that. May have a light corn character. I agree with that. Medium low to no roast and caramel malt aroma. I agree with that. I'd probably say low caramel malt. Hop aroma may range from none to light, spicy, or floral. I agree with that. No hops. While a clean fermentation profile is generally most desirable, low levels of yeast character, such as light apple fruitiness, acid aldehyde, are not a fault. A light amount of DMS or corn aroma is not a fault. So, wow, even though it's not a particularly aromatic beer, it's pretty much the spec for the style. So let me get I think I'm going to give that, it's really not exciting. I'll go 9 out of 12. All right, so let's get back to appearance. I don't know how this looks on camera. In real life, it's a really dark, like, mahogany thing. It's like black up here, kind of a brown, maroonish thing in the middle. Let's see what we got for color. This is, it's about a 22. At the brightest, it's like a 13, and at the darkest, it's about a 27. So I'd say about 22 SRM. What do they say? Deep amber to dark brown with bright clarity and ruby highlights. Foam stand may not be long lasting. It is beige to light tan in color. When I poured this, had a pretty big fluffy head on there. Has diminished. So doesn't matter if it completely. That's not going to completely evaporate. I can just tell by the texture. But good looking beer. And it is clear. It's filtered, so it's gonna get the full 3 out of 3 from me for appearance. All right, now we get to move on to the best part, the flavor. Cheers. As I was drinking it, I was getting like pale lager, like maybe like a little bit more sweet than your average pale lager. Wasn't getting any hops or anything like that. And then when I swallowed on the back end, I actually did get a little bit of a roast character, not to the intensity of a Schwarzbier. And it does leave like a little bit of like a bitter kind of coffee aftertaste. I'm really surprised at that. Yeah, and I actually am kind of, the more I pay attention to it, the more I can really pick that up. A little bit of kind of like bittersweet chocolate, a little bit of, coffee. The coffee's just like in the aftertaste. You don't really taste it. But I can definitely taste a little bit of roasted malt in there. So, I mean, there's probably more than just black patent malt in there. Probably something like a little less deeply roasted. I mean, black patent malt is like burnt malt, basically. I'm not tasting any adjuncts. I mean, that's not to say there's not any in here. If there are, I mean, if the adjuncts is probably just sugar or something like that. What's the ABV on this? 5.4. It's that's not really sessionable. It's a little big, but it's very, very drinkable. Hop level's pretty low. A little bit of a faint, spicy, earthy kind of thing. Definitely nothing citrusy or dank or anything like that. No piney. Very low bitterness, enough to kind of give it a little bit of balance. But I would not call this a sweet beer per se. So it's not that sweet, so it doesn't really need a lot of hops for balance. Pretty clean taste as far as fermentation, not getting, diacetyl or aldehyde or anything like that. So let's check the specs. Low to medium malty sweetness with medium low to no caramel and or roasted flavors. Okay, I would agree with that. I'd say, low malty sweetness and medium low to no. All right, so I'd probably say low caramel and roasted malt flavors, and may include hints of coffee, molasses, or cocoa. Okay, so it's all within the guidelines there. Hop flavor ranges from none to low levels, and is typically floral, spicy, or herbal. Exactly what I said. Low to medium hop bitterness. Yeah, I'd say low hop bitterness. May have a very light fruitiness. Did I get that? Moderately crisp finish. The balance is typically somewhat malty. I agree with that. Burnt or moderately strong roasted malt flavors are a defect. Well, it does not taste burnt to me. Like a lot of stouts, you kind of have like that just raw burnt taste, like burnt popcorn. Schwarzbier sometimes have that too. There's definitely a roasty flavor, but I would not call it a strong roasty flavor. So, yeah, I mean, it's really right there for the flavor guidelines. But, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, this is one of the commercial examples, so it should be. I am going to go... I'll go 17 on that. I thought about even going 18, but maybe I'll come back on that. Mouthfeel. Light to medium light body, smooth with a light creaminess, medium to high carbonation. Yeah, I'd say it's about medium light. It's a little bit more on the creamy side than the crisp, effervescence, but it's certainly, I'd probably call it like medium high CO2. No alcohol presence at all. Pretty clean aftertaste, other than just like a little bit of a residual roasty kind of thing, or not roasty, coffee. Let's see. I guess I would go the full 5 out of 5 on mouthfeel there. I can't really find anything here that I would disagree with. So overall, I mean, it's at least an 8, if not a 9. In fact, I would probably say 9. That's a total score of 43 out of 50. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for my personal score. So thanks for watching. If you watched to the end, you're awesome. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Somebody brewed it, Chad just reviewed it.
Thanks for watching Chad's Beer Reviews.
Trust me, the next episode will be a lot better.